Right now in South Korea, you are witnessing the world's most expensive theater production, where the actors have forgotten they are supposed to be on the same team. Imagine a scene that sounds like a bad comedy sketch, written by someone who has had way too much caffeine and not nearly enough sleep. We are talking about a society that is leading the entire planet in luxury goods consumption per capita. These are people who will happily spend 3 months' salary on a single designer bag, or watch that tells them the time while their demographic future is literally vanishing into thin air. It is the ultimate ironic contradiction. You have a generation of young people living in tiny cramped studio apartments. We are talking about rooms so small you can cook your noodles while sitting on your bed, yet they are frequenting 5-star hotels for vacations and posting photos of $100 mango-shaped ice as if they are royalty. It is not just a preference for the finer things, it is a rigid, unforgiving social requirement. If you are not broadcasting a life of high-end indulgence, you simply do not exist in the digital social hierarchy. And this weird, shiny facade is the very thing that is ripping the foundation of human relationships to pieces. But why would anyone actually demand this level of extreme high-end service in a relationship? Why has the simple act of dating transformed into a full-blown service industry, where the man is expected to act as a full-time caregiver, a financier, and an emotional buffer? The answer is buried in the way people think about their own value in a hyper-competitive world. You see, when everyone around you is living through a screen, being average is perceived as a total humiliating failure. There is this desperate need to save face at all costs. In this environment, a romantic partner is not a companion or a teammate. They are a lifestyle accessory, they are a status symbol. The goal for a specific demographic of women has become the pursuit of what people call the princess treatment. It is a validation mechanism. If a man is willing to spend his entire paycheck, drive across the city to pick you up and handle every single emotional whim without complaint, it proves to the world and, more importantly, to your social media followers that you are a high-value individual. The partner is basically a piece of living furniture designed to prop up your ego. And that leads to the next logical question: if these women are so vocal about being independent and fighting against the old ways of the past, why are they so desperate for a man to play the role of the traditional provider? This is where the hypocrisy becomes absolutely deafening. You have a generation that marches in the streets for total equality and screams about breaking the patriarchy, yet in their private lives, they demand that men perform the most subservient 19th century roles imaginable. They want the freedom and the professional respect of a modern 21st century woman, but they still want the financial subsidies and the physical protection of a medieval lady. It is a pick-and-choose version of reality. They want equality when it means they get a promotion at work, but they want tradition the second the waiter brings a check to the table. The concept of splitting a bill, which has become a massive point of conflict, is treated like a personal insult or even a sign of potential aggression. It is a world where you are a strong, independent warrior until the rent is due or the car needs gas. And then suddenly, it is the man's job to provide because that is just how things are supposed to work. So what happened when they actually got what they asked for? What happens when you push the demands for service and luxury so far that the other side just can't keep up anymore? Well, the cold logic of the market has started to bite back in a way that nobody expected. The guys who used to be the pushovers, the ones who would tolerate any amount of debt or emotional abuse, just to have a girlfriend, are finally checking out. They are quiet, quitting the dating market. They have looked at the math and realized that the social contract of dating offers them incredibly high risk with absolutely zero reward. Why would a guy spend his life working a soul-crushing job just to hand the money over to someone who treats him like a servant and might report him to the authorities the moment an argument gets too heated? Men are realizing that the game is rigged, so they are just stopping the game. They are retreating into their own digital bunkers, focusing on their own hobbies, or looking for partners in other countries where the idea of a relationship is still based on mutual respect and cooperation instead of a one-way extraction of resources. And this leads us to the next link in the chain: if men are leaving the market. Why is the fallout so devastating for the women who claim they didn't need them anyway? This is the most tragic part of the whole farce. South Korea now has some of the highest suicide rates and depression cases among young women in the developed world. When you build your entire self-worth on the ability to extract luxury and service from a partner, your whole world collapses the moment the supply of those partners dries up. The princess crown is getting incredibly heavy, and there is nobody left to help carry it. Instead of realizing that their own entitlement is the problem, many have turned to digital spite. The internet has become a wasteland of malicious comments and rage where people scream at each other through screens because they can't find a way to live together in the real world. The isolation is not just a physical thing, it is a systemic failure of trust. If we look at this from a global perspective, you can see how the rest of the world is reacting to similar pressures. In Japan, you had the herbivore men who just lost interest in the whole meat grinder of social expectations decades ago. They decided that a quiet life with a video game was better than a stressful life with a demanding partner. In the West, you see the rise of guys traveling to different cultures to find a version of connection that hasn't been poisoned by this brand of modern entitlement. But in South Korea, the situation is even more extreme. It is a scorched earth gender war. Men are increasingly looking for international marriages, looking for wives in Japan or Southeast Asia who still value the idea of building a life together. And the domestic female population is furious because they are losing their monopoly on the local market. They can't demand a king's ransom if the guys are shopping at a different store. What does the future look like for a society that has chosen luxury and ego over survival? It is a comedy of the absurd. We are going to see a country filled with empty schools that have been converted into luxury nursing homes for the very women who once refused to have children. But here is the kicker. There won't be any young people to work in those nursing homes because they were never born. We are looking at a world of ghost couples who only interact through legal intermediaries or apps that record every conversation to prevent accusations of being a potential perpetrator. Every date will probably require a signed contract and a body camera just to make sure nobody gets cancelled the next morning. It is a world where everyone owns a designer bag but nobody has a hand to hold. The bottom line is that this whole situation is like a luxury cruise ship that has hit an iceberg and is slowly sinking into the dark, freezing ocean. But instead of looking for lifeboats, the people in the first-class cabins are busy screaming at the waiters because the champagne isn't chilled to the exact right temperature. They are so obsessed with the service they think they are owed that they cannot even see the water rising above their ankles. They have spent so much time staring at their own reflection in the shining windows of a luxury shop that they have forgotten how to actually swim. The princess crown they fought so hard to wear is actually made of lead, and it is the very thing that is going to pull them all the way to the bottom of the sea. It is the ultimate mockery of a civilization that figured out how to master the material world but completely lost the ability to live in it, when the last citizen of this country is sitting alone in a designer chair, arguing with an AI chatbot about who should have paid for a dinner that happened 40 years ago. The joke will finally be complete. Fuel the truth at Dating in Korea. Support the structure. Stay safe in the lounge.